Hey everyone, Alex here. Welcome to another edition of the Bandsaw Life. Now today I want to show you how to set up a Laguna 14-inch saw with the original ceramic guides. In order to do that, I like to get the table out of the way. So the first thing that I'm going to do is loosen up these side bolts, slide that fence out of the way. We'll just slide that fence railing off. And in this particular saw, there is a Phillips head. So we'll just get rid of that and we'll take that insert out. Now don't forget, you've got to get rid of that table leveling bolt. And then underneath, there are two of the handles that take the table off. Now I'm going to give you a close-up of that here in just a second. I'll show you the easy way that I found to take these levers off the table. Now, this particular lever, as you can see, has a spring load. So if you push up on the bottom, well, then you can turn that so that it's easier to take that back lever off. The front lever, well, you should be able to simply open up the door and just unscrew it to take that off. And then we just lift the table up and slide it right out of the way. Now we can see the upper and lower guides and what we need to do to adjust them. So first thing we want to do, we'll open that up, and I'm going to turn this saw around a little bit. So that you can see how I adjust the guides from the side here. So we've got our doors open here, and we'll just take the tension off that saw. May have to loosen that blade up just a little bit more to get it to come off. Now, if this is up too high, you won't be able to get the blade out, so just lower that so that the blade is easier to come off the saw. And don't forget, it also has that little dust attachment. The one that was on this particular saw was broken. It was just simply make it out of wood. Now, I like to make sure that all the guides on this saw are completely corrupted before I begin to do the adjustment. Again, it has that spring-loaded handles, so we'll just back that upper guide away. We'll open up these side guides, and just to show you what we're doing here, you can see that these guides, these are the original ceramic guides, so this actually adjusts that in and out for your thrust ceramic, and then these open up your side guides. We're going to do the same thing to the bottom. And then we'll also back away those lower guides so that everything has been completely corrupted on this saw. Now we're ready to do the adjustment. Now the blade that we're going to use to set this saw up is a 3/8 inch greenwood blade by Carter Products. Now, ceramic guides are usable, but the reason that Laguna sells their own blades, one is a carbide blade, the other is a bimetal blade. Well, those teeth can't be altered when you use friction. So ceramic guides will wear this blade out a little bit quicker, but this blade will work just fine. So we'll install our blade. Get it aligned. And I like to put just a little bit of pressure on the saw, rotate it until the blade centers itself, and then put that full tension on there. If you put the full tension on there immediately, what's going to happen is it can torque or bend the blade a little bit. So don't put full pressure until you rotate that wheel just a little bit. We'll go ahead and bring that tension up where it's supposed to be. Now, when I check for tension, a lot of people want to check on the right-hand side, and that's not a good thing to do. So what I want to do, Daniel, if you would, give us a close-up right here, just right up. Now, always lay your finger here on the guard. That way, when you check, you're a consistent distance from the wheel every time. Lay your finger here and tap. You shouldn't be able to get much more than about 1/4 of an inch deflection without basically, you don't want to push. You want to just tap as hard as you can with one finger, and you shouldn't be able to get much more than about 1/4 of an inch deflection. So, we've got our tension set. Now we're ready to adjust our guides. All right, now that we've got our blade installed, I'm going to put our upper guide back into place. We just simply slide that thrust ceramic in from the back, and then right up to install your side guides onto that post. Now, on this particular set of guides, it's a little bit different than most. So what we have to do is we have to actually adjust our thrust adjustment to the proper place on the top. So we'll bring that up close. Always rotate your wheel to make sure that you're not scraping the back edge of that blade. If it touches occasionally, not so bad. But you don't want it actually pushing that blade out. So we can see that it's really close, but it's not touching. Then underneath, we actually have to bring our side guides up where we want before we can adjust the thrust bearing. So what we have to do is bring those side guides up so that the front edge of those ceramics is just behind the deepest part of the gullet. Make sure that that guide is straight to the blade, and then just simply tighten up those back to adjustments. Now, next, we'll do the same thing at the top. We'll bring those side guides up to where they're just behind the deepest part of the gullet. We'll adjust that to where they're straight, and then lock that into place. And then the last thing that you have to do as far as getting the guides to where they're supposed to be before you can adjust those side guides is to bring that thrust ceramic, I keep wanting to say bearing, it's an actual ceramic that you push right up close to the back edge of the blade, then rotate to make sure that, again, you're not pushing that blade out, but they're as close as possible without touching that blade. Now, it should touch, when I touch right here in the center, it should touch both, which it does. So the last thing that we have to do is adjust those side guides to get them as accurate as possible. Now, with ceramics, again, you don't want them touching the blade constantly. If they do, they're going to destroy the blade prematurely. So, we'll do the same thing on the outside. If you get any kind of resistance when you rotate the wheel, you've got it way too tight, and you will destroy that blade extremely fast. So in order to adjust these, we simply loosen these up, get them same top and bottom. See, there should be just a little bit of movement there. Again, ceramics will destroy a blade very quickly if they're rubbing against it constantly. See, we've got just a little movement. We have no scraping sound, and we've done the same thing on the outside. So side guides should be as close as possible, but have just a teeny bit of movement there. We'll do the same thing down here at the bottom. And then the inside. you can see it actually stalls that blade if it's too close. So we'll back that away just a little. Now we're set, just a little bit of movement on each side. And now we're set on both sides. And now what we want to do is just go through and make sure everything's good and snug. Remember, when you're pushing on these guides, sometimes you're pushing a log, sometimes you're pushing a board. You're putting a lot of pressure on these things. So make sure they're all good and tight. Doesn't even hurt to maybe even take a little pair of pliers or something to give them a little extra, especially if you're going to do logs or something like that. You want to make sure that you get these things as tight as possible. But now we've got everything set. We're going to reinstall the table and see what this thing will do. All right, now we've got our table reinstalled. Next, what we want to do is reinstall our table insert, our table leveling bolt, and then we're going to adjust that table square, and I'm going to show you an easy way to do that. All right, now the easy way to do this is to use a FAST. Now, a FAST is a fence alignment system tool. The way that I designed this was I just took a magnet, put it on the blade with a steel ruler. Makes it easy to see where square is to the body of the blade. You can see with a FAST, it actually has a magnet on the back. It has a groove for the offset of the teeth. Simply drop it right on the blade with the teeth in that groove. We don't want to skew to the offset of the tooth. We'll raise this up a little bit so we can bring our fence right over to it. Snug that up. Now, I can see that the fence is off just a little bit. So this one has the 3 Allen screws here. It's a number 6. And we just simply loosen those up. And then we align the fence to that FAST. Never trust that the fence is square or the table is square to the fence. Reason being is if you do that, if the blade moves just a little bit on the wheel, remember the wheel is crowned, so it's always changing angles. So always square the fence to the body of the blade, never to the table itself. So we've got that adjusted. I'm going to set this fence for about 1/4 of an inch. Now the nice thing about these FASTs, if you wanted to, you could put one on the blade itself and use a second to measure over to make sure that you're square and you're whatever distance you want. Now I've just set this up so that I could lock that into place. We're going to raise this up. Take us a small piece of maple here. Now it's always good to look from the back to make sure that you are square. The other thing that you want to do anytime that you're going to resaw board, look down that board. Make sure that it doesn't have a curve to it. If it has any kind of a curve whatsoever, well, Then you want to make sure that you're on the outside of the curve to the fence. Reason being is if you put the cup, the inside of the curve to the fence, well, it will go thick, thin, thick because you can't push it in. You need to keep that curve against the fence so you can actually follow the curve just a little bit. So we're set. Let's see how we did. Now when I get to the end, I don't like to have my thumb right here on the end, so I reach around and pull that wood right out. That way I don't have to worry about my thumb. And as you can see, we got as straight as you can possibly get, both top and bottom, accurate, perfect every time. Now don't let anybody tell you that bandsaws have drift and you can't set them up to where they don't have any drift. If anybody tells you that, they're not setting the saw up right. I hope you all enjoyed this and got something out of it. Be sure and put some questions and any comments that you have down below. Thanks for watching. Join us next time when we show you how to install a set of Carter guides on this Laguna bandsaw. Thanks, everyone.